lower price one, it's pretty far out, I don't pursue it.
So how do you let that go? I mean, because sometimes it's hard to just say no to those.
Well, what I always want to be is one of the things that I feel like I picked up from Keller Williams is always be a problem solver for your clients, or even people that your clients refer to you. You know, sometimes people will call and they're looking for an answer. And if you don't have the answer, find the answer for them and get back to them like right away. You know, start, and that's great about this organization we're in here. You can quickly text or email out, and right away people are flowing back with information. I think that's great. I didn't have that where I came from. A little bit, but not the way it is here.
So you position yourself as, you know, a resource for them, not necessarily the listing agent or the buyer's agent on the transaction.
Right.
You're selective about that.
I am selective about that.
Okay.
I really am.
And so, you know, let's kind of role play a little bit here, because I'm really curious on this one. So let's say, you know, I'm an individual that has a lower price listing that you're not interested in moving forward with, but I've heard great things about you, and I want to go ahead and work with Scott Peterson. So what would you tell me in that situation?
Well, before I would call you, every time I'm analyzing a property, I like to come with, when I'm speaking to somebody for the first time, I want as much knowledge as I possibly can about that.
Okay.
So I pretty much analyze properties the same way each time. I look and see if it's listed for sale right now. I look and see if it was listed prior. How did that work out? You know, what can I learn about anything that's already in the MLS? Get the tax record, look at the aerial view, you know, look at the bird's eye view, look at everything about it. If I can run a quick, you know, CMA just for that neighborhood, if it is a neighborhood. Then I call the person back, because now I've already sized up the property. If it's not something I'm interested in working in, I'll just tell them that, you know what, this one's a little far out for me. I think I know another agent that's better positioned for this for you. And if I find a Keller Williams agent that I do think is in that position, I'll call them and say, hey, here's a potential referral. And, if it's not, sometimes there's agents I know and worked with before, they're not Keller Williams agents, I just think they're the best agent for that particular project. I'll call that agent.
Sounds great. I mean, so you're not just leaving them in a lurch. I mean, you're directing them to the right person for
Right,
it.
they appreciate that, and they usually say that. So it's whether they're looking for a contractor or it's a listing that, like we just talked about, that's why I just try to be the problem solver.
That's great. So let's talk a little bit, because, you know, a lot of us we struggle with time and self-management, if you will. And, you know, you kind of mentioned on ways that you lead generate in the car and stuff like that. First of all, is there a typical day for you? And if so, what would that look like?
I would say not a typical day, but I am mindful of time blocking. I think that's a great thing to consider in just running your business. I'm not always the best at it. I'm always trying to be better at it. But I usually like to get up early and address some emails or do some type of analysis.
What is early?
Early for me is like I usually wake up 5:15, 6:15, something like that. And fortunately, I'm to the point in my life where my kids are such an age that I'm no longer, putting them on a bus. I mean, I always was a guy doing that. My wife works for an airline, she leaves at 3:30 in the morning. I like to get up early. I usually work fairly late. I'll work, somewhere 10 to 11:30, depending on the situation. And it's not the same every day, but I put in pretty many hours every day. Really don't mind working 7 days a week, but I've always left time for my family and never missed any of the kids' events. That's a great thing about being self-employed. That I always did. The one thing I haven't done is I've never developed a pastime for myself. Like I don't golf and I don't hunt, and I do love sports and music, and those are my pastimes, but I don't have something that I'm really good at. Other than those things. Being a good dad and husband.
Nothing else to do?
Yeah, right. No, I think that's great. And so, just so you guys know as well, I'm going to be filing a few questions, and I'm going to open it up as well to the audience. So make sure you guys are writing down your questions as well. And Scott, this has been great. I really appreciate some of the stuff you're sharing. So what are some of the things that you're focusing on right now in your business to go ahead and kind of give it that mid-year boost, if you will?
Okay. I went back and there's another thing I never did before is, always check your numbers. It's so easy to do, and I really wasn't doing that very much where I used to be. And here's always, like here, we're at the sales meeting, John's given the most recent sales activity. I love that. In fact, I'd love to be on your email list for that.
Sure.
I appreciate that. So I looked at my numbers and I thought, I'm not happy with my production this year. I mean, I did over $11 million last year, and I don't even know how I did that sometimes. I go, how the hell did I do by myself $11 million? It was 36 transactions, and there was a $2 million and $1 million and 825, and those are hard things to replace.
Sure.
So I'm not happy with my production this year, but then I did notice that the last 2 years, and it's already looking like this year, I did do a lot of business during the summer. Well, I mean, the last week I put $1 million under contract, and I got another $1 million I'm working on right now.
Great.
So I looked at that and I go, okay, let's not be too hard on yourself, because it looks like this is what you've been doing the last 2 years. But at the same time, let's try to implement some systems so I'm not so, peaks and valleys kind of stuff.
So I mean, I just want to put a little bullet point on that. So just knowing your numbers, that awareness is a motivating factor for you.
Yeah.
It makes a difference for you, okay.
I guess I'm pretty focused, so I really don't feel undisciplined, like I'm trying to punch away all the time. I feel like if there's a time when you're a little bit down, you're not happy with your production or just the way things are going, you just gotta keep pushing forward, keep making the calls, signing up the listings, keep, grabbing the buyers that are the right buyers for what you're trying to accomplish, and that's something you just have to keep pushing forward all the time.
So that activity breeds more confidence with
It
you.
surely does.
Great.
Like being part of different groups of agents that get together from time to time, or I'm in a business network group, and it's not a formal business network group. It's really kind of cool. It's just a small group of guys that get together once or twice a month, 7 o'clock in the morning, share their business stories. We're all business owners, and unbelievable how much business out of that small group that I've generated over the last 2 years.
So that's a pretty informal thing that you develop, or is that?
Myself and a couple other guys.
That's a great idea. I like that. You kind of mentioned that you wanted to go ahead and implement a few systems to go ahead and stay out of those peaks and valleys, if you will. So what are some practical things you're doing there to make sure that doesn't happen?
One of the things is bowls coming up in August, and I want to sign up for that. And I did bowl right when I came over to Keller Williams when I was over here at KW West, and I thought it was a great way to just get out of the mindset I was in from the previous broker I was with for 19 years and just get into something new. And I mean, it's all, the whole Keller Williams story is right there, I think, in that 7-week course, really.
So I think that's so cool. Like it's really that easy. I mean, just like, hey, I'm going to do bowl. That's what's going to get me out of the valleys, right? Give you that jolt of energy.
Kind of a reboot.
I like that. No, that's a good way to look at it. What are some of the unique challenges that you face as an individual agent? Now, describe that, because we have individual agents, supported individual,
Right.
Teams, groups, all that sort of stuff. So individual agent, what does that organizational model look like? Is it really individual?
It is. I like to say I'm an idiot sometimes. I really, seriously, it's like I don't do contracted close, put up my own sign, and put my own lock boxes, I take my own photos. It's just how I've been doing it for 20 years. I'm having a hard time letting go of that. I should do that. I know that.
Sure.
At the same time, I haven't done it yet. Okay, so that's my number one thing right there. Leverage, more leverage.
Okay, all right.
The first thing I did to leverage myself is use centralized showing. What a breath of fresh air. Instead of you're driving down the road, somebody calls, I want to show a listing, and I'm writing it down. Okay.
Oh my God.
That was terrible.
But Scott, think about this. If you get that leverage you're talking about, you can probably do 20 million this year.
I know. You're right about it. Keep telling
Well,
me.
what's that Maria book say? When you find that right executive assistant, what should happen to your business?
Say it'll double your business.
So, anyways, we'll dive
Work in
into
progress.
So as we're diving into that, so what are some of the things that unique challenges that you might have as an individual agent? What are some of the things that you're doing to overcome those challenges?
Well, I take every technology class I can take. We got a great guy over at KW, Chesterfield, a guy named AJ Owens, really knows how to use social media. And I'm not happy with my use of social media in marketing my listing. So I'm always trying to gain more information on how to do that or who to go to do a better job of that.
Finding the resources. Yeah, that's great. What's the one thing you feel you do better that best positions you as an agent than any other agent that's out there? Why do you think that your clients are so excited to work with you?
Well, a couple things, I guess I go at it from a knowledge base. I mean, I really have been out there working for 21 years. I guess I got about $130 million in closed sales at this point that I've tracked. I've worked in a lot of disparate markets and on a lot of different price points. So I do come at it from a knowledge base. there's not that many neighborhoods in St. Louis County and St. Charles County I haven't been in that I can at least have some experience to draw from. But I analyze properties all the time. I like to preview properties online or just go see them if I think they're gonna be useful, and I track. I mean, I probably have set up in the MLS 250 prospects. Some of them are real prospects, some are things I'm tracking. So I'm always trying to keep up on the market. And
That's pretty cool. So what's something you might track?
Homes on acreage under 300,000, of course, properties in my market area.
Gotcha.
Homes in subdivisions that I have a lot of friends in. Homes in subdivisions that are nearby my house, areas where I've done a lot of sales activity in.
See, I love this, man. All right, so these are those practical things that are systematized to do all that communication you were talking about early on in our conversation. So that's what's happening there. When you got a lot of friends in one neighborhood, you're getting pinged this information. I'm guessing if you have yourself on auto prospecting or whatever they're calling it now. And so you see that come across, you say, hey, there's something that just popped up on 123 Main Street, just FYI. Is that?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Very cool. I like that a lot, man. Cool, man. Well, let me ask you this. As we're kind of winding down, and if you guys have any questions, please volley up here. What's the one thing you would suggest or recommend to an agent that's looking to go ahead and take their business to the next level? And that could be an individual that just started and they're wanting to go ahead and dive in and get their first couple transactions taken care of, or it could be that $20 million agent that's saying, you know what, I need to break through that ceiling and go to $30 million in purchase. Well, what would you suggest?
I'm not gonna address the last one because I'm not there yet and I don't have a knowledge base to address it as I see it. But for the new agent, I mean, I think bold is, you have to do that. It's just
I'm
right.
not paying to
It's
say
right there. It really is. For a new agent, it's right there in your face. Here it is. It's not that expensive. There's a way of getting your money back. It changes your mindset. It introduces you to all these different systems and possibilities. Drinking through a fire hose, as they say it, both. I mean, that is the number one thing I tell every agent that I know came over to Keller Williams. I say, if I were you, I'd do both.
Let's get it involved. That's simple. I like it. That's easy. I like it. So how we do so far? Pretty good. Yeah. What questions do you guys have right now for Scott?
Numbers, man. Of your 36 transactions, buyers, listings, what was the percentage? What was the breakdown?
Oh, the breakdown, slightly more on the seller side. After you've been in the business a while, it just makes sense to be a listing agent. That's where, as Keller Williams always says, that's where all the activity comes through listings. And so I only keep like a handful of buyers I'm working at any given time because buyers do take up your time. I do like the idea of being out with buyers so that you're staying on top of the market. That's important to me. I have a hard time grasping the buyer's agent thing for me, for my business model, because I always want to keep up on the market. But I'll say, Mark, it's about 65% listings and 35%.
Average days on market?
Oh, it ain't horrible. I work on a lot of specialty properties that aren't that easy to sell, and it's hard to get them priced right because you don't have good comps for it. So,
Percentage of listings sold?
I don't know those numbers off the top of my head, but I'll just say, I'll say 80% of the listings I take, I normally get
I
sold.
mean, that's phenomenal. The average in the marketplace is 44%.
44, correct?
Another thing that I do well on, because I come from like a confident level when I'm sitting in front of a seller, is, the majority of the listing calls I go on, I get those. I would say about 75 to 80%.
How long is your listing presentation?
It can be quite long. What I'm trying to do when I'm sitting in front of that seller, I'm trying to build rapport. I don't really care about being in and out the door and getting 5 appointments a day. I want quality appointments, and I want to sell them on what we can do as a team, me and the seller. I like that idea of you're really teaming up with them to get them from point A to point B, and that's what I take great pride in, is helping people move from one part of their life to the next part. So I'm trying to build rapport while I'm at that listing presentation. And so it could be, it's going to be a minimum of 45 minutes, and I've been sat there for a couple hours with them sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
But by the time we're done, it's pretty clear that they're going to list with me. So some people would have a different philosophy. That just happens to be mine.
I think one of the key things in that listing presentation is to uncover or identify that motivation. So what do you do to really dive in there with your sellers?
Well, I want to know what they're trying to accomplish, really. What is it they're trying to accomplish, and, you know, how do they see that? And, you know, what would work best for them? I'm trying to gain as much info from them as I can by listening and writing down what they're asking about, and then see if I can directly address it as I'm sitting, you know, and have that good conversation going with them.
You have a question right now?
Yeah, real quick, Scott, pipeline. How big's your pipeline? How do you manage it? Napkins on the bar, business cards, database? How do you manage your pipeline? How big is it, sir?
You know, that's one of my challenges, what you're talking about right now. I really can't tell you. All I can tell you is when my kids look at my phone, they go, how can you have somebody contact somebody? One thing I do, when I meet somebody, I don't really like business cards. I'm not a business card guy. You got a small computer in your hand. I enter stuff right away, okay? Now, I'm not hitting those people with touches, but I know they're there. I know where they came from. I'll put a little note on here, maybe the date or what property I was associating those folks with. Then I have it. But it's what I said earlier about just calling, keep my name in front of people.
So you don't send out calendars or magnets or any of
Really,
that stuff
no.
to past clients? He calls.
Just the yearly Christmas card.
Yeah, yeah.
So you're not a Hobbs and Herder guy.
But I do. It's the personal touches that I hear that is so important for you. You know, where you're specifically reaching out to somebody, they know it's a unique touch. It's not just a mass email or send out. Even your Christmas cards are handwritten.
They're handwritten. And so, I mean, it's just more than one way to skin a cat. And fortunately for me, I got 20 years of, you know, past clients to draw upon. I could do it in a much more systematic way. I could have a team of 5 or 6 people, and that would be one way to do business. I enjoy the relationship with the client, and it's just what I like.
Yeah.
You know, so that's why I haven't become a.
But teams might not be your niche, I mean, they may not work for you.
That, I mean, I'm open to it, but I haven't felt it. You know, I don't
Right.
think you should do something that you don't, that you're not drawn to.
Right.
You know, you should do play to your own strengths, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And that's what I do.
That's cool. Scott, do you mind hanging out for just a little bit if there's any questions that percolate after the meeting?
I appreciate you guys having me in, and it's an honor to talk to you guys.
Have a seat. You're all good. Well, you're
Okay, let's-
whatever you need.
You're on the couch.
You're collecting tips, right? All right, guys, a few things that I'm going to touch on here. First of all, there's a few featured events that I'd love you guys to go ahead and circle on your calendar. So first of all is on Tuesday morning, we've got actually the Bold Mastermind. Keep an eye out. I shoot out an email usually the night beforehand, the call-in phone number. And basically what we're going to be doing, I'm going to keep that open for everybody until the next Bold session. It isn't on there right now. It's 8:30 to 9 in the morning on Tuesdays. And it's just a quick way.
Starting tomorrow?
Well, yeah, it'll be all the Tuesdays throughout July. Yeah, starting tomorrow. And it's a great way to go ahead and you know, what we're talking about there, Bill, getting that mindset right. And we're going to be talking about some of the concepts that are delivered in Bold. Keeping that energy high throughout the course of the month. Because we've got Bold coming around, as Scott mentioned, it's something that he's going to put in his business plan with John Prescott, August 15th. All right, it's Thursday. If August 15th isn't a Thursday, it's that Thursday of the month. Yes, I will.
All right.
Awesome. And then another featured event too, as just notified by John Platten. We've got a lot of dot loop stuff going on, guys. So there's going to be another dot loop training this afternoon at 12:30. So after we get done at noon, you guys can go ahead and break, grab lunch, come on back, and really plug into that stuff. The individuals that have really embraced dot loop, Nick, tell me what's your thoughts on dot loop?
The new one, so much more simple.
How's it working with all the clients that you're closing right now? By the way, can we give them a hand? First year in the business, more than 17 deals so far, year to date? Wow.
No, I don't see me writing any. I write all my offers on .loop just because it really. I work a lot with investors too, mind you. So a lot of the contracts are fairly simple, but it's so quick to just do it on there.
Once you
I
get
know
over that
people
learning
have,
curve.
yeah,
Once you get over that
you know, a
learning
little
curve.
learning curve. There will be a few hiccups with everything of technology. You guys always notice that internet conks out at the worst possible time. You know that. you know, but you get over that learning curve, and it saves you, it saves me hours. You know,
So just think about it, what's your, one of the things we did in agent financials was figured out what our dollar per hour is. You know, and what I figure most of the agents in here are $50 an hour plus, right? And if you're saying it's saving you hours, that's pretty valuable too, right? All right, so that's the second thing. The other thing that I really highlight on here as well, Recruit Select with Mark Willis. That is actually July 24th and 25th. That's in Kansas City. This is going to be an extremely sought after event. Mark Willis is the CEO of the organization. What's up?
It's not sold out yet?
Not to my knowledge, and I'm confident it will be sold out very soon. And we're getting interest outside of our region because Mark,
He's the guy.
I've never seen him deliver anything other than a few state of the company kind of addresses and stuff like that. So I'm really excited about this one. Stephen, I know you're an advocate for Recruit Select. What can you give me a 30-second testimony
Yeah,
on
I
it?
signed the board. Well, because I had done the whole, hiring the wrong person for the wrong position in an admin spot for a long time, went through 4 different admins, went to Recruit Select, followed the process, and it works. We have a really great, office manager and new listing coordinator, so it does work. How much is it?
It is not a cheap deal. It's $4.99 for the 2 days, and then there's there's a self-assessment which you already actually have done, and that's $250.
Yeah, the manuals themselves are worth it.
So here's the
And then
deal.
you can audit
That
it
is
for
not
$200.
cheap, is it?
Yeah, no.
That is probably the most expensive course that we offer in Keller Williams. What's the cost of a bad hire?
That's
Thousand.
horrible.
Right, some of you have.
Thousand.
Yeah, right? And actually it's one of the first exercises they go over, and it is pretty astronomical what that number looks like. And then we start talking about, okay, actually I think it's $3.99, I guess.
So if I took Robin and be $4.99 each,
It would be.
or $3.99 each?
Yeah.
Bad hire, that's a train wreck.
But I took Jesse, and it's well worth it, you should be your first hire.
Planting
So
your crops in the
it's just-
winter.
It's well worth the investment. And the good thing is, it's not just about hiring, it's also about, you open your eyes to relationships and also to your vendors and to your other contractors, things like that. So it's not just hiring, it's the whole thing.
So what Scott was saying is that it's kind of a way of life almost. I mean, it definitely, it translates into my personal life for sure, and I think it's a pretty cool deal. The other thing on there is the Midyear Business Boost. That's July 19th, try that again, July 19th from 9 to noon. So it's interesting what Scott was talking about today was just kind of checking out where we're at in relation to our numbers. Where are we at compared to where we were last year? And do we need to modify anything to hit our goals this year? It's about having that conversation and then offering some very specific strategies to take advantage of this local market. So we're going to be touching on all that stuff in 3 hours. It's going to be a pretty powerful time there. I have a couple guest speakers kind of lined up for it too. So that should be a great opportunity to go ahead and get that recharge as well. So I'm excited for you guys to be in attendance for that too. Also, today's a pretty big day contract-wise, right?
Should be.
Yeah.
What's going on with the contract today?
Now, does everybody know that there is a new contract?
Yes.
Do you also know that, well, you probably don't know this, but of all the brokers in the entire MLS in this area, only 1/3 of them went to that training. So that means that probably 2/3 of them may not even know that there's a new contract. It is your responsibility on the listing side as well. If you get the old contract and you get that that's your responsibility. So you need to make sure even on your listings
Can I
that you
slide
are
in
using that.
Let me slide in real quick with that. Sean Riles, he's one of the regional directors of the Atlanta area down in Georgia. His line is that he wants the best agent to take on the responsibility of writing any amendments, writing the contracts, whatever it is. And if you don't think you're the best agent in that transaction, there's a problem. You guys catch that? So it's your responsibility, right? Back to you, Jeremy.
Yeah, if you're not familiar, online we do have the training material that shows the riders and the contracts that were adjusted. The biggest thing was the liquid gas inspection. Also realize if you write a contract effective immediately, it has to be on the new form. And your buyer, now you should be informing your buyer up front of any HVAC, typical liquid gas inspection that occurred before. Does that make sense? Yeah.
What if you have an offer out right now that's not yet accepted on the old one, are we good?
Yeah, it's effective today.
Okay.
Today. So if you wrote a contract today, it's a new form. Anything you wrote before, it's the old form.
Are the special sale contracts new as well? or just residential?
Well, special sales contract doesn't have that paragraph for liquid gas inspection, so that has not been affected, but the special sales contract rider that people attach is affected. And so is the FHA rider. Anything with the liquid gas reference, that would be affected.
Jerry, can I ask you this, because we had a discussion this morning about that, is we're asking our buyer's agents to still write into the special agreements that the seller pays for it, for the gas inspection, because here's why. If you think about it, most HVAC plumbers are not on Supra, there's no way to track them. Then you're trying to make it responsible, so who's gonna be responsible on the other side? Is the seller gonna stay home for the 2 or 3 hour window? So, what's your take on that?
It's all negotiable on that end. You
Okay.
can still negotiate the seller to pay for, you can still have them do a liquid gas inspection.
Right.
They have to agree in writing though,
Okay.
for a contract.
What would your verbiage be?
I'm not a lawyer, but I would probably look at what was written in the prior contract and use something similar
Yeah.
to that.
I'll address that. I like that
Okay.
opinion of having, because it's customary to have the sellers right now go ahead and pay for it.
Right.
So right now, I don't think it's that big of a difference, to have that additional language in there. And I agree, I think that's probably not a bad idea. But to Jeremy's point, it is negotiable, and if your seller
Right.
says, I'm out.
Exactly, but my thing is, the seller should be responsible, because otherwise,
Right. It's a
So-
lack of respect, and then it might not get done.
yeah.
One more thing on that, if you use liquid gas, and I will be completely frank, I'm opposed to liquid gas because they're a monopoly and
Yeah, monopoly.
there's a lot of reasons for that, but they will shut off the gas if they find something wrong with the property. So if you are using liquid gas with your buyer, then you need to definitely make sure that that is going to be resolved or addressed if the liquid shuts off the gas. I mean, if there's a gas line leak and they shut it off, how are you gonna resolve that? I was told by the people that revised the contract that it's covered in the contract. I don't think it is, very well, at least.
That's a good point.
Yeah, because you gotta have
Who
heat.
would you, Jeremy, who would you suggest in lieu of liquid gas?
If you use, so when you call your inspector to do the inspections, I would just tag on the HVAC inspector. First off, they're gonna be probably $50 cheaper, or at least 25 than liquid gas. And they do a full liquid gas inspection, pressure the lines, check everything as well.
And they can do the repair while they're there.
And they can do the repair, and they don't shut off the utilities.
Exactly.
Guys, that's huge information. I really appreciate that. Nick?
Sorry, is the contract updated on .loop yet?
Your uncle is working on that.
Oh, yeah.
That'll be up. From what I understand,
I'll
by the
get
end
it
of
on
the
there.
day.
Possibly,
It's
and that
not
is.
an online form, so you can get it.
Yeah. I will send out a blast email to everybody to let you know when .loop is updated. It is supposed to be within today, but I don't want to promise that. When in doubt, use the online forms until we
It's
get it.
already been delivered to .loop. They're entering it right now as we speak. So
Yeah.
we've been told by the end of the day, but, unless there's something you want to add to that, please, Scott?
Oh,
Just say hi. Say hi, everybody. How you doing?
I had heard that the reason that we took out the liquid gas inspection clause was because of a potential lawsuit from pipe fitters, because of the monopoly.
Well, it's multi-tiered, but there's two reasons. One, in the past, they used to have to come over and actually read the meter, so they put that on the back end of the contract for a switchover inspection. Now Liquid doesn't do that, they do it by satellite, so that's no longer valid, and antitrust is the other thing. Because it is a monopoly, it is, absolutely. And we're forcing as realtors, we talk about not having monopolies and not having all this stuff, but yet we were forcing the seller to have to use a cleat, and they had to use a cleat.
Yeah.
Is there a conflict of bringing in an HVAC company that they get paid to sell heaters and furnaces and that kind of stuff, where liquid gas, they came in and if it was good, it was good, if it was bad, it was bad, and they didn't care because they're not gonna sell you the equipment for
I'm sure they use that argument.
Moving contract.
Probably no success.
Yeah.
I mean, that did come up when the
Trusted
gas
contract.
company was here, when Leaf was here, they mentioned that.
Well, Liquid's gonna sell what they have, and what they have right now is not as good as what an HVAC company has.
Right.
Right, and they cannot make that. If you hire an independent third party to come in just to inspect the gas lines and everything, that is what they're there to do. Not give opinions on anything else.
We're gonna work with Clarence, and then we're gonna move on.
Residential is, the gas is run by the plumbing contractor anyway, so the plumbing contractor would be
Sure.
probably same price as HVAC, and they could come in and do the same.
Yeah, the only exception, and I agree generally for fuel runs, the problem is if you were doing, the heat exchanger and some of that, I mean, most plumbers aren't graded, probably addressing those issues, so. And
But you don't-
venting, the venting of the hot water heater, that stuff, so